Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to theory video number 6. So today we're going to work a little more with bass clef as a review of last week on video 5, and then I'm going to talk about something new that is ledger line notes today. And so that's the notes that are added above or below the normal staff. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing I want to show you today is I want to point out the treble clef staff and the bass clef staff, when joined together by a bar line on the outside of both, all the way down through the treble and the bass, and I have a little brace on the outside, and I go to the end and I close it in on the end as well. We now have what is called a grand staff. It's no longer just a treble staff or a bass staff. It's called a grand staff because you're joining together right hand and left hand. So if the notes are on the top, the right hand plays, and if the notes are on the bottom, the left hand plays. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention because we've had examples of that in some of our theory paper work, and I wanted to make sure everybody understood when you join them together, it becomes a grand staff. Okay? Okay, so now I'm going to, let me go ahead and do the ones for the treble clef, the ledger line notes. You know, in the right hand, when we start with middle C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. So that's, today let's use, while we're doing this, let's just use this as our middle C. So this would be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. One more note, F. And that would be your top line, okay? So now what I want to do today is show you what happens if you have notes that are higher than the top line in the treble clef. And then I'm going to show you what happens if you have notes that are lower than the bottom line in the bass clef. Okay? So let me erase this. So you just keep in mind that that top note is an F of the treble clef. Middle C all the way up to the top line is letter F. Now let me erase this and then I'll have a little more room to work with, and I'm going to show you how to do those notes that are above the treble clef. Okay, now you'll want to write this down in your workbook, so make sure you have your pencil and your workbook and you're ready to draw a staff. This first staff is not a grand staff. We're just going to work with the treble clef staff. And I'm going to make it a little bit. There are my 5 lines. And I'm going to put my treble clef. I start with a fishing hook. And I come down to almost the 3rd line to the bottom and cross the 2nd line for my treble clef. Now we said this last note here is an F, and we said that's the top of the treble clef. Okay? So today what we're going to do is we're going to draw in the next note, which would be a space, and then it would be a line, and then it would be a space on top of that little line, and then it would be a 2nd line with the note through the line. So if we were at the F on the top of the staff, we would simply go in order. And we can just look at this keyboard and tell what comes next. So if we were on an F, the very next note after F is G. Then comes A, then comes B, and then comes a high C. So make sure you have copies of that in your workbook, what they look like. So you have to put your space after the top line, then you draw a little line and put the note, have the line going through the note. Then your line is in the same place, but you put the note on top of the line. Then you'd have two lines with the line going through the next note. So that's F, G, A, B, and a very high C. Okay? Now when you do your app, you're going to see some of these notes in your app. They're going to use that high G and that high A and maybe some more once we go to the intermediate level. So make sure you understand ledger line notes. That's the lines that we draw in either above the treble or below the bass. And there can be some that we put in between in the middle, but we're not doing those today. We're just doing the ones above the treble, and now I'm going to do the ones that are below the bass clef. Okay, so you just rewind your video if you don't have those down yet, so you have enough time to draw them in. And let's move on to our bass clef this time. Okay, so let's draw. Give myself a little space below, since that's where the extra notes are going to go. When I draw my bass clef, I start on the fourth line with a dot, a half of a heart, a dot above the fourth line, and a dot below the fourth line. Okay, so now we studied last week, well, 2 weeks ago, we studied how to do the 5 notes backwards, C, B, A, G, and F. And so let me draw those in first. We had middle C, B, A, G, and F. C, B, A, G, F, because they are going down the staff. Okay, since we're going to go all the way down, let's use this as our middle C. Let's use this one. C, B, A, G, F. Okay, so here's where we started last week adding the new notes. And the new notes were from G to E. So we started and we had, let me go ahead and draw the other ones in and then I'll show you how to put their names on them. Okay, so from here to here were our new notes last week. Great, big, dogs, fight, animals. If you're doing just line notes, great, big, dogs, and we already knew the fight, animals. We already knew the F and the A from the 5-finger position, C, B, A, G, F. So these were our new notes last week. Now when we leave a G and go to a B, we're leaving out our A. So let's put that in. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So those are all of our bass clef notes that we should know now. Especially know this beginning line at the bottom of the bass clef is a G. Now that's important information. I'm going to star it right here. That's an important note to know, because now when we do our ledger line notes, you'll see why. Let me erase this. And I'm going to do just a small bass clef staff so that you can see the new notes that we're going to do today that are the ledger line notes below the bass clef. This part you will want to write down in your workbook. So go ahead and get yourself a bass clef drawn on your 5 lines and 4 spaces. Okay? Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw over at the end of my staff, I'm going to put a G. We said that was that bottom line note in the bass clef. So I'm going to label that a G. Now, as I did the treble clef, I drew in notes above it. I'm going to draw in notes below the bass clef. So when I leave line, the bottom line G, I draw in a note right below the staff. Then I draw a line because we don't have any more lines for the staff. So this is my added line. And I put the note, I have the line going through that circle that I just drew. Now, the next one I'm going to draw is going to have a line, and then the note is going to go below the line. So that's a space. And the last one is we draw the line the same place that we did all of these. And then we add another line and have the line going through the circle on that one as well. Okay, so get that down in your workbook. So you see this one that is right below G is an F because you're going backwards in your alphabet. G, F. So if we go backwards again, that's your E, that's your D, and this is your very low C. So those are the 5 notes that you should have on this staff, starting with the G that you already knew, and then just adding those 4 ledger line notes that are the low notes. That very low C, the D, the E, and the F. Okay, so hopefully you've had time to get that in. If not, just rewind your video and you can see how to draw them and then label them as well. So that you've got C, D, E, F, and then we start our bass clef, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So our top line in the bass clef is an A. And that's part of those 5 notes that we learned at the beginning that were C, B, A, G, and F. So all that serves as kind of a review for your bass clef. Okay, let me grab my cards. We're going to do just 2 words today. So your first example, you will need to number 1 and put 5 blanks. And then we're going to do some bass clef notes to come up with a word, okay? So remember we use great big dogs fight animals for the line notes. And if you notice that when we use that sentence, great big dogs fight animals, there are 5 words, just like there are 5 lines on the staff. So that's the one we use for lines, and the spaces are all cows eat grass. So line note, you ask yourself, is it a line or a space? And then after you figure that part out, you'll know which to use. whether it's Great Big Dogs Fight Animals or All Cows Eat Grass. All right, so I'll do this first one with you. Great Big. So in your first blank, you're going to write letter B. Okay, second blank. Okay. Our third blank. Our fourth blank. Now that's the note that we talked a lot about today, being the very bottom of the bass clef. And our last one, the fifth blank. Okay, that's your first word, and you only have 2 today. So this is our last one, and it only has 3 blanks. Okay, left hand. You're going to be starting with a space note. Okay, that's your first blank. All right, second blank. And our last blank. Okay. All right, so there's just 3 letters for that one, and that's the final one for today. Now, I want to point out to you your worksheet for next week, and I want to bring attention to, please make sure you're doing your worksheets, because I had a lot of folks that forgot. They're doing the video, and that's great, but they forgot to do the worksheet. So this week, I want you to, when you look at your video, I want you to go ahead and find this worksheet. Make sure you see what it says. Look at the picture. Find it in your workbook. Pull it out and go ahead and complete it when you're watching the video. After you finish your video, you need to complete your worksheet so you don't forget it later. Notice on your worksheet for this week, it's a word matching game, and it's for both the treble and the bass clef. Okay, so the first column is all bass clef, and the second column is all treble clef, right hand notes, and the bass clef is your left hand notes. Okay, so what you're going to need to do is figure out, just like we do the cards, you're going to write the name of the note above it, and then it says match the word in the left column. It's spelled in the bass clef in the middle column, and in the treble clef in the right column. So you're going to, after you write all of the answers, you're going to find where the word edge is. And then you'll put it in the correct, you'll put number 1 beside the word edge in both the bass clef and the treble clef, okay? And I'll do this one, first one for you here. This is B, A, G. Now when I look over here, I find number 2 is B, A, G. So I'm going to put a number 2 here. I'm going to have to find B-A-G over here and put number 2 there as well. And here it is. B-A-G. A, G. So I'm going to put a number 2 there. So you're going to have a 1 in this column and a 1 in this column. 2 in this column and a 2 in this column. 3, 3, 4, 4. So each column should have both numbers 1 through 10 in here somewhere. They're just not in order, okay? So name the notes first and then match them to the words on the side. Be sure to complete your worksheet this week, okay? All right, well, that's all I have for today. I look forward to seeing you at your lesson this week. And don't forget to practice. I'm looking for some great piano playing this week. Make sure you have all of the songs that are listed in your composition notebook. I write your assignment out every week. So I'll say you're supposed to watch your video, you're supposed to whatever the songs are that you're working on. I'll have everything listed in that notebook. So you should go through and check those things in the notebook and make sure you've learned to play the songs that I've asked you to. And then we'll have a great lesson when you come back. I look forward to seeing you this week at your lesson. Have a great day. Enjoy this beautiful weather. See you soon. Bye-bye.